Ava, a 41-year-old homemaker, narrated her sudden shift in life with a wry smile. "Please move aside. You're in the way of a pregnant woman," Hazel, her belly tenderly cradled, commanded with a facade of sweetness. Of mulled over Hazel's words, her gaze lingering on the harshness shadowing Hazel's features, contrasting sharply with the supposed gentleness of her condition. She glanced towards Jack, her husband seeking an ally, only to find him aligning with Hazel. "You could use the storage room for tonight," Hazel proposed, a suggestion Jack quickly endorsed. Ava's feelings for Jack, once deep and steadfast, cooled rapidly, leaving a lingering trace of sorrow. "All right then," she conceded, masking her turmoil as Jack clasped Hazel's hand with visible joy. Hazel's adoring look at Jack stung Ava anew, her sadness swiftly overtaken by a rising tide of anger. "I'll leave by tomorrow. Maybe it's best I stay elsewhere tonight, given this is now your shared home," Jack added, his happiness unmistakable. Ava nodded, her exit from the house marked by quiet contemplation and a forced smile. Once an energetic civil engineer, her life had transformed post-marriage into one of daily routines and leisurely coffee breaks. Despite these simple joys, she also thrived on her hobby of investing, which had lately proven lucrative, affording her indulgences like lavish hotel brunches and spa days. Jack, 40 and a charming sales engineer, had lately let himself go, gaining weight and neglecting personal hygiene, yet his eloquence remained intact. Their daughter, Nora, was a stark contrast to both. Excelling academically and athletically, her modesty and dedication making her parents proud. Despite Jack's occasional flirty tendencies, Ava had believed in the strength of their family bond. Their once cherished condo, bought when Nora was born, was aging, and with maintenance costs climbing, it seemed life was nudging Ava towards new horizons. Meanwhile, Nora had opted to move closer to college, and amidst these transitions, Ava faced her current predicament, her future uncertain yet open to new possibilities. Ava's life took a new turn when she and her husband Jack decided to move into an inherited, now vacant house. The decision seemed straightforward: renovate the old family home and settle into a more manageable life as they approached retirement. Previously, they lived in a spacious 4-bedroom condo, but the new house had only 3 bedrooms and was designed as a single story for convenience and comfort. One of these rooms doubled as a study and guest room, with the potential to convert into an extra space for their daughter Nora whenever she might return from college. However, this move unexpectedly stirred tension between Ava and Jack, who had until then enjoyed a relatively smooth relationship. Jack's behavior changed. He began coming home late, citing work dinners and other commitments that also occupied his weekends. The smell of alcohol and cigarettes clung to him, making it difficult for Ava to share even the same room, despite them having separate beds. This discomfort forced Ava to start sleeping in the study shortly after they moved. Ava handled the moving announcements herself, knowing Jack wouldn't be keen on managing such tasks. She sent letters to his family and relatives, and a brief note to her own friends and relatives on her mother's side. She had lost touch with her father's side of the family, largely due to the complex relationship with her half-sister, Hazel. Hazel was 12 years younger than Ava, born to her father and his new wife shortly after he remarried, following Ava's mother's death. Ava had always viewed Hazel's existence as a reminder of her father's second, seemingly happier family. It was revealed at her father and stepmother's funeral. Both had died tragically in an accident that her father and his second wife had been childhood sweethearts. This had been a shocking revelation to Ava, as it seemed her own mother had been an interlude in what everyone else saw as an inevitable partnership. Growing up, Hazel had always been the center of attention at family gatherings. She was dressed in brand-name clothes, enjoyed her favorite foods, and had the largest room all to herself. Her privileged upbringing contrasted sharply with the more modest one Ava had experienced, adding layers of resentment and perplexity to Ava's feelings toward her family's dynamics. Amid these swirling personal histories and new beginnings, Ava found herself contemplating the paths her life had taken and the relationships that shaped her past and were shaping her future. Ava's life was shaped by necessity and endurance from an early age. As a young girl, she was burdened with all the household chores, from cooking and cleaning to laundry, while also juggling multiple part-time jobs. Any money she earned was taken from her, leaving her to struggle for even the most basic necessities. She had little more than a cramped storage room under the stairs for herself. Growing up, Ava's relationship with her much younger half-sister, Hazel, was strained. Hazel had learned about Ava's mother from other relatives and looked down on her. Ava worked tirelessly, saving enough money to eventually move out, leaving behind any hope of fostering positive feelings towards Hazel. She never shared news of her marriage or the birth of her child with Hazel. Years later, Ava was enjoying a rare moment of peace, sipping tea when the doorbell rang. Expecting a delivery, she opened the door only to find Hazel standing there, not as a delivery person, but wearing the hat she had seen through the intercom. Hazel had tricked her way in by using a recorded delivery message. Ignoring Ava's shock, Hazel breezed past her into the living room and made herself comfortable on the couch. Ava confronted her, realizing Hazel had expected her not to open the door if she knew who it was. Hazel, ever the performer, feigned fear dramatically but couldn't hide the smirk on her face. "I came for a visit," Hazel announced, undeterred by Ava's cold response. She explained that she was married but often alone due to her husband's frequent business trips. Now pregnant, she found it challenging to get around and claimed everyone suggested she stay with Ava. Ava, however, was resolute. "Just go home. I don't want anything to do with you," she replied sharply. Unfazed, Hazel declared she was planning to stay, which only fueled Ava's frustration further. Under her breath, Ava labeled Hazel as typical of a kleptomaniac's daughter, a comment that pushed her anger to its limits. "Get out! I never want to see your face again," Ava exclaimed loudly, her voice carrying outside. At that moment, Jack returned unexpectedly. Surprised by his untimely arrival, Ava struggled to explain the situation. Hazel, seizing the opportunity, approached Jack and intertwined her arm with his. Jack seemed unbothered, even pleased by Hazel's presence. "Oh, Hazel, welcome." "Ava, why are you being so mean?" he chided, leaving Ava speechless and wounded by the unfolding events and the betrayal of her familial bonds. Ava stood frozen, witnessing the troubling warmth between her husband Jack and her half-sister Hazel. As they discussed Hazel staying with them until her baby was born, their closeness struck Ava more like that of lovers than in-laws. "Jack, what's happening here?" Ava managed to ask, but her concerns were swiftly dismissed. Jack accused her of jealousy towards what he referred to as his cute little sister, a phrase that stung given all Ava had shared with him about her strained family dynamics before they married. Jack casually offered Hazel the spare bed in the guest room, but Hazel, pushing boundaries, expressed a wish to sleep in the same room as Jack. Their playful, intimate banter only intensified Ava's discomfort, leaving her head throbbing as they retreated to the bedroom together, arm in arm. Moments later, Ava, driven by a sinking feeling, peeked into the room only to find them in an embrace. Hazel's joyful declaration that the baby was excited to be living with Daddy confirmed the unthinkable. Jack was the father. Tears blurred Ava's vision as she watched them through the crack in the door, their betrayal slicing through her heart. From that day forward, Ava's role in the house felt reduced to that of a servant. Though she complied outwardly, she began to secretly gather evidence for a potential divorce. One day, Hazel, with her typical arrogance, demanded more space in the house, her demeaning tone stripping away any pretense of the expected gentleness of pregnancy. When Ava looked to Jack for support, he sided with Hazel, extinguishing any remaining affection Ava had for him. Resigned but clear-headed, Ava announced, "I'll leave tomorrow." To which a visibly relieved Jack suggested she might as well leave that night, declaring, "This is now mine and Hazel's home." Ava simply nodded, letting them savor their momentary triumph. Stepping outside, a determined grin took shape on Ava's face as she contemplated her next moves. That night, she checked into a hotel, distancing herself from the chaos and betrayal. The following day was spent in action. She hired a moving company and made her way to City Hall, ready to begin the formalities of reclaiming her life and starting anew, free from the deceit that had shattered her trust and marriage. Ava's journey towards reclaiming her life was both challenging and exhilarating. Despite the deep betrayals, a sense of newfound freedom invigorated her spirit. Returning home to finalize her departure, she was unexpectedly greeted by the moving company standing idly outside the seemingly empty house. Inside, a small box waited for her, a collection of her cherished belongings, tossed together without care. At the bottom of the box, she found Jack's wedding ring, a symbol of their fractured vows. The house was in complete disarray, a stark testament to Jack and Hazel's recent escapades. The chaos fueled Ava's resolve. Amid the mess, she found a note on the dining table. Jack and Hazel had left for a 3-day trip abroad and requested the house be cleaned in their absence. The note casually mentioned that the divorce would be finalized when they returned. Jack's self-absorption was evident, yet his absence simplified Ava's next steps. With determination, she instructed the movers to pack up her belongings. She left Jack's wedding ring on the kitchen counter, a silent farewell to their shared past. With everything in motion, Ava bought an apartment near her daughter Nora's university. It was a cozy 1-bedroom on sale, offering the solitude she craved. The day Jack and Hazel were due to return, Ava's phone began ringing incessantly. Without needing to look, she knew it was Jack. Answering with a calm hello, she was immediately met with Jack's frantic voice, demanding an explanation for the upheaval. Keeping her composure, Ava replied, "What do you mean? What's going on?" Jack, fuming, informed her that he found the house empty. Ava couldn't help but laugh before explaining, "Well, it was my house, and if I'm not going to live there, why keep it? Everything's safely stored in a storage unit. I'll text you the location and the access code." Jack, desperate, insisted she return everything to how it was, but Ava stood firm. The house was in her name, purchased and built with her investment earnings, not a dime from him. This reminder silenced Jack momentarily. He then shifted tactics, pleading on behalf of Hazel and their unborn child, calling the baby his niece or nephew, trying to soften the situation. Ava, however, had made her decision. She calmly assured Jack that she had taken care of everything legally and ethically, leaving him to deal with the consequences of his choices. As she hung up, a deep sense of relief washed over her, knowing she had stepped into a new phase of life with her dignity intact and her future ahead full of promise. I told him that I had been aware of his affair with Hazel ever since she had abruptly entered our home. Since then, I had been meticulously collecting proof, including audio from an advanced baby monitor I was persuaded to purchase during one of Hazel's demands. This device captured everything, even in complete darkness. When I disclosed this, Jack was speechless. Carefully, I hinted that there might be something for him in the mailbox. He checked and found a certified letter. I clarified that it was regarding a payment, and Hazel had received one too. Unmoved, I told him it was compensation for their deception. Despite his requests to consult his attorney, I ended the conversation. Following this, a series of ignored calls ensued. My old phone, serving as evidence, wouldn't pose a problem if left alone. After relentless calls for an hour, Jack finally stopped trying. His lawyer contacted me the next morning, sounding exhausted. Later, a distant relative from my father's side called on my new phone, likely given my number by Hazel. Anticipating criticism, I recorded the call. The relative demanded an apology on behalf of Hazel, who was now pregnant, and even asked for a new house as restitution. Unyielding, I refused to apologize to the woman who had wronged me, insisting instead that Hazel owed an apology and should provide compensation. When accused of petty behavior, I responded by pointing out that Hazel's actions mirrored her father's own disloyalty. I instructed them to convey to Hazel that she should steer clear of me in the future, although I doubted she would have the opportunity. Ending the call with my babbling relatives, I felt a profound sense of relief from releasing my pent-up emotions. I then called my lawyer, determined to bring Hazel and Jack to justice. My desire for vengeance persisted until I saw their bewildered expressions at the lawyer's office. Hazel looked completely taken aback, while Jack appeared sullen, showing no remorse. Surprised by their self-absorbed remarks, I presented them with divorce papers, along with another set, our marriage certificate. I offered a reduction in the demanded compensation if they signed promptly. Jack quickly grabbed the pen and signed. Hazel, with a smirk, followed suit. Placing the signed documents in a folder, I gave them a broad smile and announced that I would submit these to the county office. Hazel, dumbfounded, tried to argue, but I revealed that the divorce had already been finalized through mediation the day before. Her ignorance was due to ignoring multiple legal notices. As Hazel and Jack processed this news, I dropped another bombshell about the possibility of Jack disputing his paternity of the unborn child. Hazel stared in shock, unable to respond.